Ladies and gentlemen, this is your captain speaking, and hoping that I don't get copyright claimed by Water Tower Music again, because this week I'm looking at Rocksteady's sequel to their incredibly successful Arkham Asylum, none other than Batman Arkham City, released on October 18th, 2011. Development and planning had begun during Arkham Asylum's development, with the team knowing early on they wanted to take Batman into Gotham City, and got to work on expanding the game's mechanics to fit that environment. The game is both jam and action-packed, so let's waste no time and give it everything we've got! The game opens on a frame of a framed Cain and Abel painting being observed by a group of monochromatic menaces, who are soon to be interrupted by none other than...
It's Batman!
What the hell?
Sorry to disappoint you boys.
Oh, yeah, I forgot to mention that Arkham City has Catwoman DLC, complete with a side story that runs parallel to the events in the main game. And you know what? Since I like adding in as many interesting facts into these videos as possible, but it would be roughly 5 days long if I went into the history of every important character in the game, I'll provide one fun fact for each one. Fun fact about Catwoman, she is one of the two villains introduced in Batman #1 in 1940, and she's voiced by Gray DeLise, who has voiced characters in at least 30 things you've seen, though is probably most well known as the voice of Daphne Blake since 2001. Anyway, as you can see, Catwoman makes quick work of these guys, but I won't be going over the combat just yet. Her reward for doing so is a microchip and a gun to the head. Fun stuff. See you later, Selina. Batman's got his own stuff going on. He's currently protesting outside the Arkham City gate, which serves as great exposition to the audience that Arkham City is exactly as it sounds, a section of Gotham City that's been walled off and filled with all the inmates of both Arkham Asylum and Blackgate Penitentiary. Unfortunately for Bruce, Arkham City's private security force, Tiger, doesn't like his slander.
Gotham safe again. Remember, Wayne is the priority target.
Surround him!
Hands in the air, Wayne. We have Wayne.
Target secured.
This is when Bruce Wayne comes face to face with Dr. Strange. No, not that one. Dr. Hugo Strange, the Warden of Arkham City. Fun fact about Hugo Strange, he predates Dr. Stephen Strange by 23 years. A less fun fact for Bruce Wayne is that Strange knows he's Batman and threatens to reveal that information if Batman makes any attempts to stop him and his mysterious Protocol 10. And if Arkham Asylum had the perfect slow opening to get you introduced to the characters and the world, Arkham City is the perfect opposite. You're dropped right into a grand story in the anarchistic world of Arkham City from the get-go. Need further proof? Ask and Danny DeVito shall answer.
Welcome to hell, Brucey boy.
Night.
Okay, so it's not Danny DeVito, it's Nolan North, last appearing on the channel as the voice of David in The Last of Us, though more prominently as the lovable rogue Nathan Drake in the Uncharted series. Fun fact about the Penguin, he was one of the main focuses of the Gotham TV show, and he was one of the best parts of it.
Charles! Sasha, help!
They won't come.
Where are they?
You thought they tasted the same.
Batman breaks Penguin's hand, then breaks his handcuffs, all while praying none of these goons wake up and remember that time Bruce Wayne kicked their ass in a very Batman-like manner. Bruce then contacts his loyal butler Alfred, who will be filling in for Barbara for a majority of this game, and gets him to deliver a batsuit with Amazon instant shipping. It's not unintentional that the whole opening is focused on Bruce Wayne. Rocksteady wanted to make Batman feel vulnerable and exposed in a way that he has never been before. Speaking of vulnerable and exposed, Batman uses a microchip he stole from a Tiger radio with his cryptographic sequencer to hack into their broadcasts just in time to hear that Two-Face, voiced by Troy Baker, who was last seen as the voice of Joel in The Last of Us and nothing after that, is about to kill Catwoman in the courthouse he happens to be right in front of. Batman doesn't like the potential death of his sometimes waifu, so he breaks up the court session, allowing me to talk about the combat. Little has changed from Arkham Asylum, though much has been improved. Each hit flows from one to the next like butter, there are many more combo moves to use through upgrades, and Batman's gadgets can now be quick-fired in combat, including the best move in the game. Speaking of upgrades, the upgrade menu has also seen a massive overhaul. For starters, it's split into 5 different sub-menus: Batsuit, Gadgets, Combat, Predator, and Catwoman. A lot of the locked boxes are unlocked through story progression, and the health upgrades have now been divided into Combat and Ballistic. And on the subject of menus, this game also has character bios, but they are quite different than they were before. Gone is the comic book art style and bios for unknown villains. In are in-game character models and bios only for characters in the game. This choice, and certain choices you'll see later, are evidence that the Arkham series had begun to be its own thing, breaking out of the mold of being a safe Batman introduction story that doesn't upset too much of the status quo. Alright, now back to Batman. Oops. Why is the first bit of damage to the suit always right on the bat symbol? Anyway, with Harvey scratched and dented, Batman interrogates Catwoman about Protocol 10, but all she knows is a rumor that Strange is working with the Clown Prince of Crime to plan something very special for the Dark Knight. But Joker doesn't take too kindly to the dirt sheets leaking his big plans.
Twinkle, twinkle, little bat. Watch me kill your favorite cat.
But before Batman leaves and Two-Face is literally never seen again in the base game, a fun fact about the XDA is that his coin comes from his time as an abused child. His father would flip a coin, and if it landed on heads, he'd beat Harvey. And as Harvey would later find out, the coin was double-headed. Fun stuff. Anyway, Calendar Man is in the basement to set up the most time-consuming trophy in the game. Anyone who worked on Arkham City is being imprisoned in it by Strange, and some League of Legends wannabe is standing on the roof observing Batman, thus setting up the first of this game's side quests. I'll be tackling these side quests by going over them in their entirety once they're introduced. In this one, you find this guy standing in every district of the map, then piece together another map leading to him revealing himself to be Azrael, Knight to the Order of Saint Dumas, here to warn Batman that Gotham and Batman himself are going to go down in flames. Hey, he predicted the quality of this series' conclusion. On the subject of maps, the Arkham City map is split into 5 sections. Park Row, controlled by Two-Face, the Industrial District, controlled by the Joker, the Bowery, controlled by the Penguin, the seemingly empty Amusement Mile, and the unexplorable restricted area controlled by Hugo Strange. Back on track, Batman backtracks the bullet trajectory to a church and overhears that Harley Quinn is inside. Maybe she'll finally get some measure of revenge for how weak she was portrayed before. Oh, here we go again. Fun fact about Harley Quinn before the mounting anger that one of my favorite comic book characters appears in all 4 games in this series and is used properly in 0 of them takes over, she once used a Green Lantern ring. I mean, I guess she has incredible willpower. She's able to withstand the Joker's abuse for so long. Sure. Anyway, with Arlene Sorkin retiring from the role, Tara Strong stepped in, who is the female version of Troy Baker. Fun fact about her, though, is that she still fits in with Kevin Conroy and Mark Hamill, since the first DC character she ever voiced was Batgirl in the new Batman Adventures. As for her performance as Harley, she has since fully taken Sorkin's role as the main Harley voice, and I think it's fine. It's fine. It's occasionally a bit too high-pitched and Timmy Turner sounding for my liking, but I can live with it. After Harley talks about the Joker masturbating, which I did not ever want to think about, and now you have to do that too, you're welcome, she leaves to tend to a seemingly unwell, more than usual anyway, Joker, leaving 4 of her bozos alone with Batman.
She left us alone with Batman.
Keep it together, he's ours. What's he gonna do?
Good point. I mean, it's not like he has a reputation for breaking free of traps and smashing people's faces. Oh no, that's right. That's exactly what he does.
I said stay calm. I got a gun pointing at his damn head. What's he gonna do?
Oh, I don't know. Throw a smoke bomb, break your face, and string me up from the ceiling?
That guy gets it. Just like the combat, the Predator sections haven't been changed, just added to. Now Batman can take down people through weak walls, from above, from below, and all that fun for you and terrifying for thug stuff. Also, armed enemies in detective mode are now orange. Batman makes quick work of the bozos and rescues the medical staff, which includes ex-security guard Aaron Cash, so that they're afraid to be important later, then ascends to the top of the bell tower. Oh yeah, in case it wasn't obvious by the fact that Arkham City, exists, Arkham Asylum was shut down after Joker's takeover, cause, you know, the massive plants and shit. Atop the tower, there's a special message waiting for him.
Well, look who it is. I haven't seen you for... how long has it been? Let's see. There was an asylum, some monsters, and oh, that's right. You left me to die.
Hey, wait, last time Joker had a TV on his head, it was actually him. Does that mean there are 2 Jokers? Luckily, Batman was able to pick up on the radio signal Joker used to operate the gun before he decided to send that bell tower to the place the church doesn't want you to go, and is able to trace it back to the industrial district. On the way there, Batman is introduced to 2 new side quests: AR training and the deadliest game of telephone. The first 4 AR training guides are the closest thing to being required without actually being mandatory, because completing them unlocks the grapnel boost, allowing Batman to essentially slingshot off of buildings as he's gliding around the city. The following 4 aren't required, but they make his gliding faster. As for the telephone game, it sees the return of our weak sauce adversary, Victor Zsasz. He will ring payphones near Batman, and upon answering it, Batman will have a limited amount of time to find the other ringing phone in the city and answer it. Fail, and Zsasz kills a hostage. You also get to learn his entire origin story through this side quest, which is fun. Batman finds out that the signal came from within the Sionis steel mill and enters through the main chimney like he was Santa's newest idea to punish the naughty children. He's then about to just watch a one-armed Russian smash an innocent woman to death when Harley puts paid to that by sending her to be tortured in the smelting chamber while Joker's goons go find the Snowman. At least you didn't say the Iceman.
You're supposed to be dead! Well, there's no way you're getting to Mr. J. We're safe and sound up here. You can just stay down there and burn! Just a hunk of burn, love!
Well, the smelting chamber probably has something Batman can burn himself with, and maybe he can save that doctor along the way. I'd be hard-pressed to say the Joker ever looked perfect, but okay. Batman makes it into the chamber and saves the Doctor, as well as equipping the first new gadget of the game, the remote electrical charge. Basically, it shoots balls of electricity that'll be used extensively in puzzles going forward. The actual good Doctor tells Batman that Joker's been poisoned from his Titan overdose on Arkham Island, even more reason not to do steroids, and Batman returns to the loading bay to confront the Joker. Did I say the Joker? I'm in a one-armed Russian man cosplaying as the Joker. This is Mr. Hammer, the first mini-boss who introduces the triple cape stun, which will be very handy in many circumstances. Also, you can shoot him with the REC to get him to hit his own dudes, which is fun. After you bring the hammer down on this clown, it's time to face his prince.
This is all your fault! You've hounded him for years, beat him to a pulp, and for what? Why are you so mean?
Surprise! You fell for the old fake Joker gang, Batman.
And a fun fact about the Joker is that a lot of the mysticism that comes with portraying the character is actually built on lies. The role didn't drive Heath Ledger to suicide, that was an unhealthy combination of medications, and the 2012 Aurora shooter was not inspired by nor dressed as the Clown Prince of Crime. His hair was orange and he was wearing tactical gear. The Joker is not some terrifying force of evil whose madness and anarchy transcends fiction, he's just a psycho clown man, and those have never been real. Anyway, with Batman getting TKO'd by Harley Quinn, she knows what it's like to go down in one hit, it's time to play as Catwoman again. Yay. I don't have anything against the Catwoman sections, but its nature as DLC means you can completely remove them and still get the full story of the game. Plus, her sections occur so rarely that it's hard to feel like they add a lot of value. Speaking of value, Selina's plan is to break into Hugo Strange's confiscated goods vault and steal her loot back, and decides to get help from the most overrated Batman villain, Poison Ivy. I mean, she's basically just an environmentalist now, and that's probably a good thing too. I can't possibly feel like Batman isn't any danger when he can defeat Ivy and her whole army with a lighter and a can of hairspray. Catwoman doesn't have a hard time taking down the enemies she sends her way either. Ivy isn't a big cat person, and now I can talk about Catwoman's combat. Rocksteady perfectly took Batman's combat and morphed it to fit a smaller, quicker, and more agile fighter. Sometimes it feels a bit too floaty for my liking, but that's the exception rather than the standard. Catwoman's reward for winning this gauntlet match is getting hanged up like she was the Spider-Man to Poison Ivy's Mary Jane Watson. Alright, see you two right before the end of the game and not a moment sooner. It's time for the next installment of Views I Wish I Had.
Get back here, Harley.
But I want to know who he is, sweetie.
Well, that scene is in first person, so wish granted. Also, you may have noticed that Harley has tattoos now, which would unfortunately and inadvertently lead to, well, but now Batman has found out the hard way that there's nothing wrong with the Joker.
Nice of you to say, but you of all people should know there's plenty wrong with me.
Joker just loves using Batman's own words against him. He explains that the Titan did in fact poison his blood and is slowly killing him, and now some of that blood is inside Batman too, and soon it's going to be inside hospital patients all across Gotham, leaving Batman no choice but to assist in finding a cure. But you know, at least we figured out what Protocol 10 is.
Protocol 10? Never heard of it.
Never mind. Also, I love how Harley is just standing around in the background with nothing to do while this dramatic conversation goes down between these arch enemies. Joker's Windows may have crashed, but he still has a smartphone, which he uses to FaceTime Batman and tell him that Mr. Freeze was working on a cure for him before he went radio silent. So Batman heads off to look for the coldest point in the city, which shouldn't be a problem in December. For those wondering, Arkham City takes place 18 months after Arkham Asylum, so feel free to think about how Joker's entire bloodstream has been poisoned for 18 months and he sounds like he just has the common cold, whereas Batman, the peak of human conditioning, was injected with only some of that blood, and this game only takes place over the course of roughly 10 hours. And to further link these two polar opposites, Joker will now send Batman voicemails throughout the game, and they're all great.
So how do you keep a secret from the world's greatest detective? Well, do you know? It's easy. You stick it right in front of him, right under his long, pointy nose, and wait.
But before Batman can locate the dinosaur killer, there are two more side quests available. Shot in the Dark focuses on Deadshot assassinating people. Fun fact about Deadshot, he's known as the world's deadliest assassin and the only shot he's ever missed was against Batman. Also, his boss fight sucks. The other side quest is Fragile Alliance, in which Batman works with Bane to destroy Titan containers all across the city. Fun fact about Bane, he's actually a genius tactician, in the comics at least. Alright, back to finding Snow Miser. Batman discovers that the cultist point is the old GCPD building, which has now been taken over by Penguin thugs, and while Batman deals with them, he realizes that the thugs are equipped with heartbeat monitors that serve the same exact purpose as the suicide collars from before. They're just introduced a lot earlier now. Speaking of introductions, after Batman finds out that Penguin has Mr. Freeze locked up in his museum and escapes the GCPD with the updated cryptographic sequencer, it's time for him to be introduced to the most annoying side quest in the game.
Oh no! Where have they gone? Could it be that while you were out doing what you do, I, the Riddler, snuck in and took all those poor, stupid fools?
Fun fact about the Riddler, his standard comic appearance has been heavily influenced by live-action media, possibly more than any other established villain. His iconic green suit came from the 1960s show, and his equally iconic question mark cane came from Batman Forever. The only good thing to come out of that movie. And as you've no doubt noticed, the Riddler actually has a model in this game, and in this give-and-take world, we're given a Riddler model and have the simplicity of Riddler-associated collectibles robbed from us. While Arkham Asylum had a manageable 240 things to collect, Arkham City has 440! The Riddler trophies are absolutely fucking everywhere, and some are really annoying to get, but at least the scannable riddles are still the best part. Instead of unlocking character bios, they will unlock Arkham City's stories that give insight on events that occurred in the 18-month gap between games. However, there are no audio logs or Arkham Chronicles to collect. In the overworld map, each quadrant of the city has Tiger security cameras you have to destroy, and Joker section has balloons you have to pop. There's also building exclusive destructibles. Harley statues in the steel mill and porcelain penguins in the museum, along with more in places we haven't been to yet. Now, all this sounds fairly annoying, but doable, especially with the Riddler maps. But that's where the next complication comes in. There are no more Riddler maps. Instead, he has informants that will be highlighted in green, so in a combat or predator encounter, you want to intentionally avoid taking them out until the end, where you'll then be able to interrogate them and get a handful of collectible locations. Except the Tiger cameras. You basically can't get those locations on the map until you've beaten the story.
But I'm not done yet!
You didn't forget about the Riddler's hostages, did you? After saving the first one, Batman is given an Enigma machine that will reveal the next hostage's location by solving a riddle conveyed through a radio signal. However, Riddler demands you collect a certain amount of his shit before he'll give you the next riddle to solve. I will say though, this is the biggest benefit to having the Catwoman DLC. Without her, the trophy count is at 400, as there are 40 Catwoman specific trophies added onto that with the DLC. However, the amount needed to defeat Riddler is still 400, and Catwoman's trophies are a whole lot easier to collect, so it's a very handy shortcut. Alright, now back to infiltrating the museum to save Mr. 10 Below.
In the aquatic observation chamber.
I don't think I want you breaking into my little home, Batman.
Oh, never mind. Also, this is Batman's introduction to knife-wielding enemies, which have to be dodged by holding the counter button and the direction away from them. Penguin has set up 3 signal jammers across the city, and Batman has to go around and destroy all of them, including one that's installed in the underground subway for some reason, and the destructibles in the subway are Joker teeth. But before Batman can return to the museum, say it with me, there's a new side quest.
Please stop this madness.
In Identity Theft, Batman investigates a string of murders committed by the Identity Thief, named for the fact that he steals his victims' faces. This ends up being Hush, aka Bruce Wayne's childhood friend Tommy Elliot, who surgically grafted parts of other people's faces to his face so that he would resemble Bruce Wayne. Fun fact about Hush, he has never had a successful run outside of comics and animation. As you'll see in a couple weeks, this setup ultimately goes nowhere. He was in the Gotham TV show for like 3 episodes but never got to do anything, and the less said about his role in Batwoman, the better. Finally, back in the museum, Batman is introduced to armored enemies who have to be cape-stunned before he can lay into them. Also, Commissioner Gordon sent in a squad of undercover officers, but Penguin sniffs them out, and now Batman has to save all of them too. Okay, so maybe not all of them, but the majority will do. Hey look, it's Mr. Hammer's twin, Mr. Sickle! Yeah, they weren't very subtle with that. Penguin tells his potential hires to prove themselves by beating Batman, which goes as well as you'd expect, leading to Penguin bringing out the big guns. Or one big gun. That's right, Titans are back, looking a lot closer to Left 4 Dead 2's Charger for some reason, and they've learned since last time. They will now block any batarangs thrown their way, so Batman has to instead hit them with the triple cape stun before he can attack and ride them, which itself now has 2 new capabilities, Titan Charge and Titan Smash, which are exactly what they sound like. And now Oracle's back! I don't know what she's been doing this whole time, but better late than never, I guess. Batman discovers that Penguin has Mr. White Christmas's freeze gun and a motherfucking great white shark. Continuing on, Batman secures the free suit from a group of thugs with thermal imaging headsets, allowing them to see Batman on a gargoyle if they scan it. I would say this is a fun added challenge, but you get an upgrade that immediately makes you invisible to thermal imaging right after they're introduced. And yes, Batman finds the suit without the man inside, and anyone who knows the Mr. Icicle character knows that means his life expectancy drastically go down. Luckily for him, Batman rescues him from his forced Hawaiian vacation, and he reluctantly tells the Caped Crusader there's an override chip for his freeze gun in his suit. Fun fact about Mr. Freeze, for all intents and purposes, he's another creation of Paul Dini's. The character dates back to 1959, where he had a much worse look but a much cooler name in Mr. Zero. The name and look were changed in the 1960s Batman show, but he was still portrayed as a joke. It wasn't until the exceptional episode of Batman the Animated Series called Heart of Ice that Mr. Freeze obtained the tragic backstory with his wife Nora.
I can only beg your forgiveness and pray you'll hear me somehow. Someplace where a warm hand waits for mine.
And that episode was written by none other than Paul Dini, who, in case you forgot, wrote this game as well. Batman retrieves the override from the suit and uses it to uppercut Penguin so hard he becomes capable of flight. Well, that was easy.
Born on a Monday, christened on Tuesday, married on Wednesday.
It's first boss fight time, and they've really stepped up their game from before. This fight is all about quick-fire gadgets, using the explosive gel to destroy the generator things and batarangs to destroy his weird slugs before going in for some damage, and he gradually gets more attacks as the fight goes on. With Grundy down, Batman once again wrecks Penguin so hard he goes Gangnam style. Freeze gets some revenge against Oswald himself, and he and Batman work out that the key to creating the cure is in Ra's al Ghul's blood, which doesn't sit well with an assassin Penguin somehow captured, though she accidentally leaves a trail right to him. Batman follows the assassin until she gets the jump on him. Batman gives Robin a vial of his blood to run by every hospital to counteract Joker's plan, and, like, I'm no blood expert, but Joker only sent his blood to be used in hospitals, and Batman gave Robin a vial of Batman's own blood, which, yes, is infected with Joker's, but it's not entirely his. Anyway, Robin gives Batman the line launcher, which now has cool flip tricks, and fucks off. See you in the DLC. Fun fact about Robin, this is actually Tim Drake, Batman's third Robin. Dick Grayson was the first until he became Nightwing, Jason Todd was the second until he became the most disappointing reveal in video games, and then Tim Drake stepped in. Batman steps into the sewers to track the assassin, and he's getting down with the sickness in all the worst ways. He continues on to the base of Wonder Tower, where the next annoyance is introduced. Detective Mode Jammers, which render the mode completely useless until destroyed. Much like the infrared scanners, Batman can immediately upgrade the Disruptor, which was originally the Freeze Override but can be upgraded to work on regular guns, to disrupt the jammer even if it's only temporary. It's also down here where the final kind of destructible collectible can be found, demon heads that have to be pulled off the wall with a bat claw. Anyway, Batman puts another foot in the grave as he advances into Wonder City, Ra's al Ghul's view of a utopian society after the surface world collapses, because those always go well. And this may be the City of Wonder, but I'm just left wondering what's up with these mechanical guardians. See, in this city, built hundreds of years ago, are a group of robot guards that have a recording function and shared memory bank, which Batman uses to piece together how to progress. He mentions that their technology is light years ahead of what was available at the time, but to my knowledge, their existence is never explained. Ra's al Ghul may be immortal, but he's not a time traveler. Batman manages to progress and then fucking die just long enough to basically confirm that heaven exists.
I don't want religion in my game.
Oracle tells Batman that he had minutes to live, and remember, Joker has had the Titan in his blood for 18 months, yet he is not minutes away from death right now. I get that Batman is physically exerting himself, but he's at the peak of human form. It shouldn't be progressing the poison this much. He presses on just long enough to be confronted by Talia al Ghul, Ra's daughter and the mother of Damian Wayne, eventually a Robin in the comics. And yes, Bruce Wayne is his father. She talks about her father's wish to have Batman succeed him as the head of the demon with Talia by his side, and Batman agrees to take his spot because, in case you forgot, he's about to fucking die. He had rejected the offer every time previously because the whole killing part of being an assassin doesn't gel with him, but now that he's accepted, he has to pass the demon trials first. Luckily for him, the trial comes with a free sample of the Lazarus pit that Ra's has used to keep himself alive for hundreds of years, but from the looks of it, it seems to have been laced with some of the Scarecrow's fear juice. The demon trials, while visually impressive, aren't that great. You just glide in a simple path from one platform to another and occasionally fight enemies. But by passing that very simple task that really makes you wonder how anyone but Batman could complete, he's earned the right to confront the demon's head himself.
Welcome, Detective. It is time for your final challenge.
For anyone whose exposure to Ra's al Ghul begins and ends with Batman Begins, the way I've been saying his name is the much more common pronunciation.
I am Ra's al Ghul.
Eventually to be reborn as Ra's al Ghul.
Ra's al Ghul.
And in the case of Arrow, I don't think Green Arrow and Ra's al Ghul have ever interacted. It was just another case of the Arrow writers stealing Batman's villains and giving them to a less impressive Batman wannabe. You know what is impressive? This boss fight.
Witness the true power of my Lazarus Pit!
The boss fights are one of the most heavily criticized elements of Asylum, so Rocksteady said, I bet, and improved their quality tenfold. You have to shoot Ra's with the REC through the openings while dodging his attacks, then block his sword and fight the legion of demon heads, all while occasionally and seamlessly flashing back to the real world. With Ra's defeated, his final stand is threatening to kill his own daughter, which Batman easily handles with a reverse batarang. And if you have played this game and ever used the reverse batarang after this, I will personally pay you $500. With Ra's down and his blood extracted, Batman journeys back to the surface, where he encounters the first Riot Shield enemy. You have to stun and jump on them before they can be attacked. As he emerges from the sewers, an announcement from Hugo Strange reveals that former Arkham Asylum warden and current mayor of Gotham, Quincy Sharp, is the newest inmate of Arkham City. A quick interrogation reveals that Strange has a partner, and that Strange worked with Sharp to get put in charge of Arkham City. Also, Sharp's bio reveals that he is under Strange's mental manipulation, which is my clever segue to mention that the lunatic enemies from Arkham Asylum were people Strange experimented on. Want more proof Strange is evil? Hello, Crime Alley.
How does it feel, Wayne, to stand on the very stones that ran with your parents' blood? Do you feel sad? Full of rage? Or does that outfit help bury your feelings, hiding your true self? Oh, you are a truly extraordinary specimen. I look forward to breaking you.
Good times! Anyway, another side quest allows Batman to get a disruptor upgrade that can destroy mines, predator enemies can place mines now, and now it's time for the coolest part of the game in every sense of the word. Joker declares war on Batman for seemingly working with Mr. Freeze, even though he's just trying to get the cure, which Joker wanted him to do, but Joker's thugs can't stop Batman from entering, and he better work fast because Harley Quinn is on her way. Or, if I'm Batman, I intentionally work as slow as possible.
Boy, there's no real easy way to say this, but, look, you're a simp. I'm gonna have to report you back to Cusco.
Alright, Freeze, are we still cool?
You will bring me Nora, or you will die.
No, guess not. Okay. This is the Mr. Freeze boss fight. One of, if not the greatest boss fights in video game history. A basic summary of this fight is Mr. Freeze is the apex predator and Batman is the prey. He will constantly be following Batman's footsteps and send out heat-seeking locator drones when he loses the trail. On top of that, a head-on approach is off the table, so Batman has to sneak around and strike from out of randy nowhere. However, Mr. Freeze is one of Batman's smartest villains, so any attack used against him won't work again, as he'll devise a counter to it. Attack him from behind, he activates a jet behind him. Attack him from the vents, he freezes all the vents. But there are a lot of different takedown options, and it's up to the player to use the extent of Batman's abilities to take him down. If you want a really exhilarating fight, play this on New Game Plus. You have to use an extensive variety of takedowns, and it really pushes your skills to the limit. Also, quick shout out to Foley artists.
We're asked to do face punches on Mr. Freeze. It just struck me that he's really inside this almost robotic, confining type outfit. I've got some old rollerblade gear in the back and a couple motorcycle helmets and some other things. I brought those out along with an old ski boot and started hitting with a hammer. And putting all that together, hopefully get to the game and I hit that button, he's getting hit in the face going, yeah, that's right.
With Freeze beat, Batman can get the cure.
It's over. That was all I could manufacture.
With Freeze beat, Batman still can't get the cure. But hey, at least Harley got to do something, even if she didn't get credit for it. Joker did. Twice. So now Batman has to re-enter the steel mill to steal the cure back with help from Victor's freeze grenade, which creates platforms and freezes pipes and enemies. But there's a new side quest to go over first. Joker got Mr. Freeze to make him the cure by stealing Nora, so he tasks Batman with locating her. And this quest is pretty simple. You locate Nora, then go back to Freeze and tell him, and that's all she wrote. Okay, now can we get back to the steel mill?
We apologize for this interruption.
Nope. Reporter and Bruce Wayne's girlfriend maybe, if not now then soon enough, Vicky Vale was in that helicopter, so Batman follows the crash and saves her from it. Ever the charming, disarming Inquisitor, Vicky tries to pull back the veil of her brooding visitor, but Batman turns her down. He also tells her to stay there instead of just bringing her to the church, the one safe spot in the city. She ends up there anyway, but she had to traverse the war zone of criminals to get there because Batman was too lazy to do so himself. Okay, how about now we go to the steel mill?
Good news, Master Bruce. I believe we have identified the cure. Mr. Fox has manufactured enough to heal you and is working on a larger batch for the people of Gotham. The Batwing has been dispatched, and it should be within your vicinity shortly. I'm sure I don't need to remind you not to waste any time in taking it.
Oh, alright. I guess we don't need to go there after all. Fill me up with that cure, Alfred!
More tea, Batman? I planted a teeny tiny little idea in your head. A sort of remote hypnotic suggestion. Very complicated stuff. I'm sure you wouldn't understand, but as you can see, it worked. All we need now is a finishing touch. A special new hat. Just for you.
Of all the times Jarvis appears in this series, this is his weakest one. The setup is cool, but the actual gameplay is just a fight on a clock, with the Hatter occasionally appearing. The environment and Wonderland cowl look amazing, but the fight itself leaves much to be desired. With that out of the way, there's only one more thing to see on the way to the steel mill. This is the city equivalent of the Warden's hidden room, showing that Scarecrow is out there somewhere planning his revenge, along with these messages. I'll have plenty of time to crow about that later. For now, we finally go back into the steel mill, this time taking the back door as the chimney is, in the immortal words of Mauro Ranallo, en fuego. No, wait, Killer Croc cameo in the sewer. But now, for really reals, we're in the steel mill. As he progresses, Oracle tells him that Strange has summoned a committee to approve activation of Emergency Protocol 10 as a result of failing to stop the spread of weapons in the city, though he was the one who supplied the guns, further showing this was his plan all along. As if him counting down to Protocol 10's commencement the whole game wasn't enough. But enough about Strange, Joker has a message for his troops.
Oh, I can hear you all now. How did this happen? Can I get me some of that crazy cure? Ooh, I want answers, damn it, now! Well, here's the thing. Answers don't give you everlasting satisfaction. Sometimes you need to brace yourself for disappointment. Now think about it. Imagine your favorite TV show. You've been through it all, the ups, the downs, the crazy coincidences, and then bang! They tell you what it's all about. Would you be happy? Does it make sense? How come it all ended in a church? You guys just need to know one simple thing. I'm back. Back for good.
You couldn't get a healthier cameraman, Joker. Anyway, now Hugo Strange has a message for his troops after receiving approval for Protocol 10.
Good evening. Protocol 10 will commence in 30 minutes. You all have specific orders for this situation. Follow them.
We're done with the evil bad guy villain monologues for now, so Batman can fight his way through the steel mill until coming across a tied up Harley Quinn. Okay, whose fanfiction ended up in the script? I mean, I'm not complaining, but I will start now. Harley, there was a Joker goon like 20 feet away from you. Sure, your mouth is taped, but I'm sure you could scream and get his attention, but no, Harley's an incompetent idiot incapable of anything, so tied she remains. See you in the DLC. Talking to Harley unlocks the final side quest, retrieving the stolen freeze cluster grenade from the basement. It works exactly as it sounds, it can freeze a cluster of enemies. Batman climbs into Joker's now empty office, only occupied by Harley Quinn's older and more superior outfit, along with a positive pregnancy test, which ends up being a false positive because the writers were considering going down that path but decided against it. So this game alone has forced me to think about Joker masturbation and now Joker sex. God, this is the game that just keeps on giving me nightmares. Speaking of Joker, he's currently standing in a very specifically designed funhouse mirror, apparently.
I mean, if you wanted to be cured so badly, you only had to ask.
Batman hands Joker's ass to him on a plate paler than his face. Wait, and then Joker calls in some backup, leading to what I consider to be the hardest fight in the game. It's not a boss fight since there's no health bar to be found. It's just a really tough endurance test of a combat scenario that involves enemies of all types, Mr. Hammer, a Titan, and environmental dangers that all have to be taken into account. Do we at least get something good for clearing it? Nope. Well, unless you're Barbara Gordon, because it seems like Bruce is finally going to be able to relate to her. And if having his spine being reduced to the strength of this world's Harley Quinn wasn't bad enough, Talia shows up and decides to give Joker access to the Lazarus Pit in exchange for letting Batman go. Because that's what Gotham needs, Joker the Immortal. She doesn't even help him up. Aw man, who can save him now?
Are we not done yet, Ivy?
Oh yeah, remember the Catwoman side plot? She convinces Ivy to help her break into the vault, and while she's down there, we hear that Protocol 10 is 10 minutes away. The last time we played as Catwoman, it was 10 hours away. So what has she been doing for the past 10 hours? Is this game trying to tell me that it took Selina 10 hours to convince Ivy to help her break in? Whatever, Catwoman gets what she came for, but sees a downed Batman and is conflicted on whether to leave the city or help the Dark Knight. Leaving gets you the bad ending, and helping Batman causes her to drop the cases for some reason instead of storing them somewhere safe until she's done. So it's her own fault she can't get back to them when the tunnel collapses. And that's it for Catwoman before the post-game. Glad all that happened. So now we know that Protocol 10 is legit just bombing Arkham City to hell and back to hell again. Batman tells Oracle to shut Strange down while he follows the tracker on Talia, but she and Alfred convince Batman that he has to put the needs and lives of everyone in the city ahead of his own desires, which he agrees to because he's Batman. He gets the master control program from one of the helicopters and breaks into the facility, where he re-enters the area from the opening of the game, which is now the setting for Hugo Strange's deconstruction of the Batman character.
Have you ever considered that all this is your fault? Your presence creates these animals. Like germs, they spread. You created the environment that allowed the germ to mutate, to become stronger. Look at the Joker. Would he even exist if not for you?
All good villains make you ask questions like that. Shame he'll only be alive for a few more minutes. Continuing on, Batman returns to the Foundation of Wonder Tower, which Strange is residing at the top of, so it's time to finally take an elevator up, and Harley's too tied up with other things to stop it. Batman climbs Wonder Tower in an amazing section of gameplay until he reaches the top, home to the toughest Predator section in the game. All the gargoyles are outside, so inverted takedowns are out of the question. And Hugo Strange is in a room with a wall of glass, so he can see you and will tell his guards where you are. But they go down, Batman gets Barbara to shut down the city, and Hugo brags about his success.
I have achieved what the great Batman could never do. Gotham will forever thank Hugo Strange.
Your part in this is over, Professor Strange.
What? You're telling me the guy who is residing right below the tower Hugo Strange decided to use as his base of operations, who just so happens to also want the destruction of Gotham to create a better world, as Hugo Strange's partner? It's no wonder this game is received so well. In all seriousness, this is a good scene, climaxing with Strange activating Protocol 11 with his dying breath, which just blows the fuck out of the top of the tower, and Raish isn't too happy about that.
Hello, Batman. I know you can hear me. I've not caught you at a bad time, have I? I was worried that you may have forgotten about little old me.
Well, that's a bad omen of this series' biggest problem, but I'll expand on that in a bit. Right now, Batman has a movie premiere to attend, at his favorite theater no less.
Give me the cure! But you've already got the cure. Talia, no!
Harley Quinn stole it for him. I took it back.
Huh, alright, well, brave and bold decision, but I applaud the courage, Rocksteady.
Surprise!
Oh, Mr. J, you look perfect.
Ring, ring. So how do you keep a secret from the world's greatest detective? Well, do you know? You stick it right in front of him, right under his long, pointy nose, and wait.
Joker wants you to think he's sick. Then wait. Gotcha.
You fell for the old fake Joker gag, Batman.
Talia!
Psych! But seriously though, what a great plot twist. You hardly pick up on it when you play it the first time, then you play it again and realize how obvious they made it. But your brain, and Batman's, were focused on so many different things that you didn't have time to connect all the dots before the game does it for you. Though, that begs the question, who was the Joker pretender?
Ladies and gentlemen, for one night only, standing in for yours truly, and doing a damn fine job of it, I give you Clayface.
Fun fact about Clayface, his real name is Basil Carlo, and when he was first Clayface, he was just a regular everyday criminal, but he later formed a criminal group known as the Mud Pack, full of other people who used the Clayface moniker, including those with powers similar to the ones you see on display. He would then take blood samples from them and inject them into himself, becoming that clay monster and christening himself the ultimate Clayface. Put that in the next game, Spike Chunsoft, I dare you. Or 2Kyo Games, whoever makes the next one. Onto the fight itself, it's not the best. You just counter or dodge Clayface's attacks and then spam the quickfire freeze blast as fast as you can. At least there's the cool visual of Batman wielding a fucking katana. You could say,
this is Katana. She's got my back.
Oh, 2016 Suicide Squad, you aren't missed.
Would a change of scenery help ease the pain?
Has anyone tried to check if the underground layout actually lines up with the top layout to have the theater over the Lazarus pit? Man, you know, it would be a real bad thing if Clayface fell into that. This half of the fight isn't much better. It falls into the Arkham Asylum boss fight trap of fighting other enemies more than the boss itself, but it has sword-wielding Batman, so it's not all bad. But with Clayface down and out, Batman finally gets that cure. well then. There goes Joker's chances of being immortal, but hey, there's still some of that cure left for him.
Think of it as a running gag. No!
Oh, well, you did that your self. Enjoy your eternity in hell. Yeah, they actually just killed the Joker, which, as we'll come to find out, amounts to promptly fuck all, but at the time it was a huge deal. Batman stories come with the inherent assumption that none of the big players are going to die, thanks to Batman's nature being defined by his one rule. So any villain death is shocking, but the dynamic between Batman and Joker has always been portrayed as an endless battle between someone who won't kill the other and someone who doesn't want to kill the other. Basically, everyone reacted to this the way Harley did. Also, the opening shot of the game is a massive, subtle foreshadowing. Also, Joker spoils this scene with massive, not at all subtle foreshadowing if you stay in the bell tower after the timer counts down.
Sometimes I wonder if all this will just end with one of us looking down at the other's corpse, trying to work out what to do next. The only question is, whose body will it be? I know who I'm rooting for. What about you?
And that's how the main story of Arkham City ends, but not where our journey ends. There's still a couple things to go over first. For starters, Catwoman has a post-game story about Two-Face resurfacing and bombing her apartment. Remember, he was in this game? So she breaks into Penguin's museum, which Two-Face has taken over to get all her stuff back. But he only took half and gave his men the other half, so she has to find them all and collect them. I do think it's funny that the first villain you take down in the game is the one who wins the fight for Arkham City due to Penguin being locked up in a display case and Joker coughing up his last laugh. And then there's the Harley Quinn's Revenge DLC story, in which Batman's attempt to save GCPD hostages is foiled by a Harley Quinn. Wait, what? Yeah, Harley actually gets one up on Batman, though she doesn't think to kill him. Instead, she places him in a ball being held by some giant Joker statue so he'll slowly suffocate. Because what's a villain without their needlessly complicated plans? The answer to that is a good one. A majority of this DLC is spent playing as Robin, and it's fine. They play with the idea of Harley being more competent now that the Joker isn't around, but they don't go too far with it, especially in the sequel, but we'll get there! But for now, we draw the curtain on this standard bearer of sequels. Everyone's favorite Arkham game is either Asylum or City, and, well, you know where I line up on that. However, this is far from a bad game. I just don't enjoy the story as much. Yes, every aspect of the gameplay has been built upon and expanded in incredible ways that make being Batman more fun than ever, and it's packed with great characters, great performances, great fights, great moments, and one of the most well-executed plot twists I've ever seen, but that expanded scope leads to more holes being torn in its plot, most of which I pointed out. My main problem comes with the fact that Hugo Strange was clearly set up to be the main antagonist of the game. He's the first one you see in the opening, and his actions set in motion the entire game's events. Sound familiar? But the entire game is spent completely ignoring Strange and the impending Protocol 10 until it's already fucking active in favor of another story with the Joker at the forefront. I get it, Joker is the greatest comic book villain of all time, and his death deserves nothing less than to be the focal point of the story, but oh, I don't know, maybe don't build someone else up as the main villain then? And what makes that whole situation worse, which is less the game's fault and more the writers, is that the following two games in this series are guilty of the same exact problem, including the one where the Joker's cremation serves as the opening. Basically, whether they knew it or not, Rocksteady created a promise to players that whatever story came next, the Joker would not be a part of it. A new villain would step up into the spotlight and fill the massive void in Gotham's underworld, and their failure to follow through and deliver on that promise makes Joker's death one of the biggest missed opportunities in gaming and retroactively makes this game worse in my eyes. With all that being said, Batman Arkham City gets a 9.5 out of 10. I cannot in good conscience blame the problems of other games on this one, especially since this is yet another quintessential Batman experience that any fan would enjoy in some aspects, even if it's just for the absolute perfection that is the Mr. Freeze boss fight. And while characters like Harley Quinn and Two-Face, two of my favorite villains of course, are treated less than ideally, Rocksteady and Paul Dini continue to give fans an exceptional portrayal of the Joker, as well as new amazing portrayals of the Penguin, the League of Assassins, and Mr. Freeze. And much like Arkham Asylum, I play this game every year as well, and I don't see myself wanting to call it quits anytime soon. But with Rocksteady hard at work on the thrilling conclusion to the Batman saga, it was decided that a new studio would step in to hold the fans over until then. So next time, we travel back in time to celebrate Christmas Eve with everyone's favorite billionaire. I hope to see you there.
You have 1 missed call. Call received 3 hours ago.
Only you can make this world seem right. Only you